I'm spending 4 days in the world's first national park. Join me on my second day here in Yellowstone, where I get to see what the park is most famous for: geysers, hot springs, and wildlife. It's day 2 of Yellowstone. Woke up at around 6:20 and now we are hoping to see some geysers erupt. Tell me why it didn't feel that bad to wake up at like 6 a.m. I think it's because we gained an hour, and also it's 38 right now, but tell me why it doesn't even feel that bad. Today is one of my favorite days because we get to see 4 of the 5 hydrothermal features that are visible in Yellowstone. First, we have hot springs, which are areas of hot water usually heated by underground volcanic activity. Secondly, mud pots, which are hot springs of bubbling mud that disintegrate surrounding rock. Travertine terraces form when limestone settles around hot springs, usually in a stepped structure. We saw these on a later day. Next, we have fumaroles, also known as steam vents, that release volcanic gas continuously. Lastly, we have geysers. These are hot springs that erupt water and steam to release built-up pressure. Right now, we are headed to see Old Faithful erupt. It's 8:33 a.m. right now, and the Old Faithful geyser is predicted to erupt at 9:10. So we'll see if we can make it. We are 24 minutes away, so I don't actually know. But 9:10, give or take 10 minutes. So there's no guarantee. Do we think we're gonna make it? Yes or no? I personally don't think we're gonna make it.
Fingers crossed. I want to be optimistic.
What about you guys?
Expect disappointment, so you can't be disappointed.
Very good.
Mom, do you think we're gonna make it?
You always do.
I don't think we We are approaching the geysers. We can see the steam coming from the ground, and that will never not be cool. The steam along all these basins and geysers looks so cool because it looks like clouds, but then it also looks like smoke, and it's just very unique. Let's see, I'm hoping that I was wrong. It's currently 8:54. We're supposed to reach in 4 minutes. Now we just have to worry about parking, and we might be making it. It's 8:59 a.m., so I think we've made it. It better not erupt earlier because that would just be rude. By the time we got there, so many people were gathered around. Old Faithful, arguably the most famous geyser in the world, has eruptions that are able to be predicted pretty accurately. Here's something that's going to be really hard to believe. Old Faithful used to be a washing machine. No, really. As in, people would put their clothes into the geyser and it would erupt their clean clothes. That was it. That was the eruption. The sheer anticipation of the geyser going off is so gripping. And when it finally does, it completely exceeds all your expectations. The water can erupt up to 184 feet, releasing as much as 8,400 gallons of water each eruption. This is insane. The geyser kept going off for about 5 minutes, and the steam just kept going higher and higher. The geyser just went off. As you can see, Old Faithful went off behind me, and I'm so glad that I was wrong about my prediction.
Did anyone take it?
It was so much taller than I thought it would be. I had to switch my video to vertical, but definitely worth the wait, and it was pretty accurate to the predicted time. Also, the fact that I said that we wouldn't make it on 10 means I need to do a little bit of reflection on my half glass full, half glass empty. but I don't know what it's like in July because July is the most crowded month. But since it's June, I will say that even though it was at 9:10, which is a little bit later, there were a lot of people there, but every single person in my family got a really good view. And the parking lot is so big, you don't have to worry about parking. We are in the Yellowstone General Store looking at all these souvenirs. I found the cutest moose, and now this is like my baby. It's so cute. Really? It's also Alright, we got it, bud. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're done looking at souvenirs, and now we are going to the Upper Geyser Basin Loop Trail. Half the world's hydrothermal features are at Yellowstone, and there are more than 500 geysers. Most of them are located in the Upper Geyser Basin. Old Faithful erupts 17 times a day, and we are about to see it for 2 times. The overall loop trail is 4.9 miles, but we went up to Morning Glory Pool and came back. Welcome to the Upper Geyser Basin, where you feel like stopping every second because there's something fascinating to see everywhere you look. It just went off behind me. This feels like such an intimate sighting where we get to see the interior of the earth heat these hot springs. In our daily lives, we don't tend to think about what's beneath all that concrete, and this just lays it all out and exposes what the inside of the earth is truly capable of. We've literally only taken like 10 steps, and we've already seen like 5 different things that are so unique that we haven't seen anywhere in this park before. So I'm really excited because this loop is really long, so I can't even imagine what more we're gonna see. I think what's so interesting is that the blue color is from the stone and the chemicals in this part, because then you can see the water kind of flowing through this area, and that's completely clear. It's not blue at all, but here it is. This is the best thing about Yellowstone. You never know when the hot springs are going to get a little chatty. It's so captivating to be in an environment where almost everything around you is alive in some way, whether it's the thermophiles, microorganisms, or the random bursts from the geysers and the hot springs. You probably weren't expecting that. We weren't either. So they say that you're supposed to use the thumb rule to determine how far away you have to be from a bison, which is basically like if you hold your thumb out, you should not be able to see the bison. This is where we're at right now. This is the boardwalk that we're on. We're walking on the loop, and the bison is just right there. I was so reluctant to film this at first because it felt so invasive, but judging by the looks of it, I don't really think he cares. We left the bison behind, and now we're on to more pools and energetic geysers. Just typical Yellowstone things. Like I've said before, Yellowstone is basically a geology field trip. All of these different colored pools occur because bacteria and other organisms that need extreme heat to survive collect together in mats. This is called Spa Geyser, which just sounds so fancy. Hear me out. Do you think if one geyser told another geyser that they were so predictable, would that be a compliment or a roast? Finally, we made it to Morning Glory Pool, and as you can see, it did not disappoint. The pool is hottest towards the center where it's the closest to Earth's heat source, but cooler around the edges where it's the furthest away. The walk here was so worth it. Now we're heading back to the start, but first we have to see another active geyser. Here are a couple things that I've noticed about the geysers and basins that I don't hear or see much about on Instagram. First of all, the scent of some of these basins and pools is not always pleasant because it smells like the chemicals that they're made of. So I was not expecting that. They look so beautiful, but some of them don't have the best scent. Second of all, which is expected, Instagram versus reality. It is a lot more crowded here on the boardwalks than it looks like in pictures and videos. But I don't mind it too much. I get it. Everyone wants to take a look. But it is kind of funny that you would have no idea just how crowded it is because we curate such a feed where you can't see anything except for the nature in front of you. And lastly, something that I noticed as I was walking on this boardwalk, understandably, there's so much hype around all the basins and all the pools because this is a one-of-a-kind thing in a one-of-a-kind place. But no one really talks about the greenery and that type of scenic beauty of Wyoming, and I think we need to talk about that more. I can almost guarantee that you've heard of this place. It's called Grand Prismatic Spring, and there are 2 ways to see it. If you want to stand right by it, you go to Midway Geyser Basin. If you want to see it from the overlook to see the full picture with all those rainbow colors, you go to Fairy Falls Trailhead. We are actually at Midway Geyser Basin instead, and we're going to take a look at Grand Prismatic Spring, which I'm so excited for. We haven't seen this much steam for any of the pools today, so this is insane. This is a geyser crater. You can kind of see that at this end, how it's deep and a little bit empty. What I loved about this crater is that it kind of looks like a drone shot of an island or a tropical beach. Someone's hat clearly, unfortunately, will not be saved. Now that some of that steam has cleared out, you can probably see more of that beautiful and distinct rainbow look of Grand Prismatic Spring. I don't even know why I was trying to talk because there was so much wind you can't understand anything. So I'm gonna try to fill in what I was trying to say. I've been taking so many photos and the Grand Prismatic Spring cleared out for a little bit, so we got to take even more and see that rainbow color. I love it. My hair is clearly windy and crazy, but the people here are so nice and they just take pictures of each other. It's really helpful. We learned this one tip from the person taking our photo, and she said that if you sit down, you get a lot more of the colors. So definitely try that. Our pictures turn out so much better because of that. Note to everyone, do not bother trying to blow dry your hair or do anything. Curly haired girls, don't bother to straighten it because it's so windy here, it'll go to waste. We're done with Midway Geyser Basin and now we're going to Fairy Falls. The entire Fairy Falls trail is 4.8 miles long. That's if you want to see the waterfalls at the end. But if you just want to see the Grand Prismatic Spring overlook, that's around 0.8 miles in. Except the line has not moved at all and we are stuck in traffic for the first time today. Look at the bison, it's our nap time. We are going to start the Fairy Falls trail and I'm really excited to see Grand Prismatic Spring from the top. This pool is kind of unique. It's surrounded by grass. For some reason, everyone seems to be walking back, not towards Overlook. And that's fine, except at the sign at the front of the trailhead, it said, "Beware of bears." I highly doubt we'll see a bear right now because it's still only 5 o'clock. They're usually there closer to sunset. But still, at the fork in the road, you're gonna take the left one if you want to get to the Overlook. This part is just slightly steeper, but very doable. That is our first glimpse of Grand Prismatic Spring. I'm feeling so much harder at this point. I don't even need half the jacket that I have. It's so breathtaking from up here. As beautiful as it was in Midway Geyser Basin, to have this view from afar and see how that rainbow pool fits in with the rest of its surroundings makes it 10 times more stunning. When you're on the boardwalks, you think you've seen it all, but when you come up here, you realize how much you are missing out on. Honestly, I think it serves as a reminder to just distance ourselves from a situation and look at the bigger picture. You have to come here. If you don't come to this Overlook, you haven't truly seen Grand Prismatic Spring for what it is. This is the only way to see it. I stand by that. That, along with this whole day, just feels like such a serotonin boost. I'm literally skipping down the trail right now. My mom can't find her sunglasses, so we are retracing some of our steps, but I don't know how far we're gonna go. We've kind of made it all back almost to the beginning, but we're just trying to retrace a little bit. At this point, we've basically done the trail all over again for a second time, and we still have not found them. We made it back to the top, and unfortunately we could not find them, but it is a plus that we got to see it again.
As Archana mentioned, we're searching for the sunglasses of my wife.
I don't know what to say. I want to be back. I'm enjoying this time, but it's kind of funny because we passed the people who we passed when we were coming down. Yeah.
Some people actually asked us, "Hey, did you guys enjoy it so much that you're going again?"
Right. I'm sure people have done this like more than once, just not in the same day. Within like the span of an hour. I am genuinely wondering what bison do all day, because the same 3 bison that we saw before we started this trail are still just sitting there. Like, what do they do all day? How do they pass the time? And it's interesting because they're like still away from each other, so they're not even talking to each other. Like, what are you doing all day? So we are done with the park for the day, or at least we thought, but we are taking the north entrance out, so the north exit out of the park. And as we were going along that road, we took a little detour at Gibbon Falls because it's really easy. It's kind of like Kepler Cascades where you don't have to walk at all and you get to see a waterfall. So why would you not? Hear me out. Ginger ale, but no fizz. That would be so good. Another quick detour. Roaring Mountain. I didn't even know this place existed, but it's so pretty, and it's like really big when you're standing in front of it. Definitely stop here because I didn't know this existed. Our drive to Gardiner was one of my favorite drives on this trip. We saw so many deer, and the sun was also setting, so it made a picture-perfect landscape. We had to pull over when we saw this deer in Mammoth, which is a town near Gardiner. Something about this deer just looks different. It looks a lot taller than any of the other deer that we've seen. When we continued our drive to Gardiner, we saw what looked like the most perfect golden hour ever. I've seen several sunsets in my life, but honestly, I don't know if any of them can top this one. Being surrounded by mountains, driving towards a pink and orange sky with not a lot of cars around just feels so peaceful. Let me give a quick tour of our hotel here in Gardiner. 2 beds, a little table, and this was really important that we had a kitchen. We were staying here for more than one night, so it'll really help when it comes to just packing our lunch for the next day. And then we have the bathroom and the sink. Tomorrow I will show more outside the hotel. That's even better. Today we got to see everything that most people think of when they think of Yellowstone. But Yellowstone still has even more to offer. Tomorrow is a day filled with chocolate,
That is so good.
waterfalls, and lots of wildlife. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.